This makes quite a good yard bench, Fuzzy. Now, you may think, why is Al sat on an Iveco seat in the middle of the yard?
Because he's a muppet.
Because he's a muppet. The fact you sat next door to me is quite worrying, I suppose.
It's like we're on a bus, isn't it?
Well, yeah, going on a school trip. So you would have just watched 10 minutes of time lapse of us two numpties taking the entire interior and stripping to death an Iveco cab. So I suppose we really ought to, as this is quite a strange intro, tell you quite what we're up to.
We have a plan, don't we?
Well, we had to come up with one, didn't we?
Because the first plan wasn't
and the first plan probably wasn't going to work.
No.
It kept getting worse, didn't it? And worse, and then it got a bit worse. So I'm going to go and grab this camera and move it over here. Can you just die quietly? I'm trying to record over here. Fuck's sake, man, really?
Sorry.
You mean you're going to stop breathing? Do you have to make so much noise? Right, have you lived?
Just about.
Right. So what I'll show these people is this very, very rare thing. This is a 1999 2000 Iveco cab that has not evaporated.
No.
It's got, initially it might have a couple of holes in the sills, but we're going to cure that.
Tiny.
But it's got floors. Yep. It's got the inner wings. It's got cab mounts. It's got a battery tray. It's even got the top on the chassis leg over there.
I don't believe it.
It is quite rare. I have been hoarding this for about 3 years because I had a plan for it.
Genuine wheel arches and seal.
It's got wheel arches, it's got seals, it's got all that stuff that your Iveco tends to lose when you look round for 5 minutes. You had a perfectly good Iveco and then you went, oh, and then you came back and it had gone.
Is it you stop off from McDonald's, have a Big Mac, come out?
Go for a sleep, come back out and your Iveco's evaporated. They're very good trucks, but they do like to evaporate. It's part of British weather. So if you leave them in Spain where they were made, perfectly happy. British road salt, no. So then we're going to show them now the reason why we have got this Iveco cab stripped out here. We can show them what happens when you've turned around for 5 minutes in British weather with your Iveco cab, can't we? So the reason we are doing this, see, 10 minutes, trip into McDonald's, back out again.
Rusty.
That bit's a bit rusty. That bit's a bit, that's where the battery tray's supposed to be.
It used to be a battery tray, didn't it?
Yeah, they do things like this.
I'll put that back, there we go.
Yeah, then the sill's gone through that side, the bulkheads fell off at the bottom, and I'll take them inside in a minute and show them the floor. So we have decided that this Iveco is not a viable repair job, aren't we? The rest of it is fine. That bit, and the bits inside. It's not very good, is it?
No.
So we were sort of alerted to this when this bit, you're making it full. That bit there. All of a sudden, the carpet got a bit squidgy on the Iveco. Because I'd like to point out that this is the ministry test has just come up. It was due for a test. And last year that wasn't a worry because that was still attached. It wasn't a problem last year, and for some reason it's done Iveco things. And the floor has completely evaporated. So that is the inner wheel arch, that is gone. We could have sorted that, but then there's a big hole over there, there's another big hole in there. The bulkhead has fell off of it in there, this footwell has fell out, and the bottom of that door post had fell off when we took the wings off. So we decided that this red Iveco cab may possibly be best, which is ridiculous because this is the 2008 one, that's 8 years older. But minute, speedy hire, and obviously recovery all its life. It's seen lots of road salt, so it has just done Iveco things.
It's done a few miles, isn't it?
She's done a few. It's running. So it has died. So the cunning plan is to take all of the red stuff off of this one, so all of the Mark 4, Mark 5 bits, dash, wiring harnesses, interiors, doors, wings, bonnet, because they're all different. And paint that one this red, like the cabby bit, and then put everything on it, and then put it on this lorry, and that'll fix that. That'll only take 10 minutes, won't it?
Yeah, well.
10 minutes.
For these guys, 10 minutes.
10 minutes.
For us, about 20.
It's 20. Yeah, 25.
Yeah.
Let's give ourselves time.
Yeah, we can have a cup of tea and
We'll
biscuits.
have a cup of tea. I've got me tea. I've got me tea.
Okay.
25 minutes and we'll have that done.
No worries.
So me and Simon, Recovery Simon, because this is his truck, he's not just there, we have successfully folded everything that we think should be attached to the cab, and everything that we think doesn't need to be attached to the cab, to the truck. So what we're going to do now is try and lift, after quickly scooching through a brake pipe mount in there that's metal. We need to leave the brake pipes with the truck, and it's nearly rotted off the cab anyway. Scooch this bit off of here, so we've got like a skid unit, and then we need to get adjusting a Mark III cab to make it a Mark IV, because we had realised that there are some minor differences. This bit is different, we can transfer that over, and there is a difference here, but all is workable when you're a good man and you can use a hammer. That worked quite successfully.
Came off.
Right, it's definitely off, isn't it? Yes. Right, so obviously you'll see we've got a big Iveco now with no cab. So what we got to do, we'll go back outside in a minute, is make that green cab this red cab, and then put it all back on here when we've made that green cab not green anymore. We've made it red, and we've made the dash out of a Mark IV fit and a Mark III. Yeah. And the wings, and the door posts, and the front flitches, because you can't, trying to find a non-rotten Mark IV Iveco cab is just, they don't exist unless you want to buy a whole truck, and we didn't. But we did have a Mark III cab that's not actually that rusty. Look at it all. Oh well, at least we can do a bit of servicing, and I reckon your DVF pressure sensor that might be why the light's on.
That might be why the engine light's
I reckon that's why the engine light's on, because that seems to have detached itself, hasn't it? Yes.
That one.
Yes, that one, yeah. That's why it keeps moaning about a DPF temperature sensor, because it's cut it off. Right, so we're going to explain the brilliant and cunning plan. So this is the green Iveco cab, which is a Mark III that I've had forever. Which isn't, as you'll see, it has inner chassis legs, it has bulkheads, it has floors. Mark III, so from 1999 to 2005. This is the facelift one. So basically doors, windscreeny bits, screens, the same, floors the same, mounts the same. But Iveco put a different type of headlight and a different type of front panel in a Mark IV against a Mark III. So the problems you have like this scooched in bit on a door pillar here, there, which obviously is not scooched in here. So you're going to have to make the scooching. That bit's easy. Now, the wings pick up on the same points on the door pillars either side, but this bit, to all intensive purposes, and this bit are different. But this bit and this bit are spot welded round here, and down there, and down the bottom. This panel will come off. We've done this before. So I need to take that bit there, that bit, the hinge mount points are the same, windscreen scuttle panels are the same. So basically what I've got to do is hook this bit off that isn't rusty, hook this bit off that isn't rusty, and put that bit from that one on here, and then the same for the other side. These chassis pickups at the bottom, they are the same, and these inner screen, all of this in here is identical. So it's a bit of work, but it's only drilling spot welds, and then we can put it back on, plug it back on, and then this will become that once we change the dashboard, the wiring harnesses, but everything is pretty much there. So the wiring harness holes are the same, these plate pickups are the same. The only real differences are, you'll see here, this has a two lug mount spot welded on with 3 spot welds there that picks up the fuse box. A Mark III doesn't have it, and it has a riv nut in the lower bulkhead down there. Oh, it does have it there, so that's not too much of a problem. We can put that in, and then that makes this into a 6-ton Mark 4/5 cab, and then that makes that scrap, because that's really rusty and this isn't. So this is W reg, and this is 2008, but this is a motorway wagon. Ivecos suffer in here mainly for water spray off the front tyres, whereas this came off a garden machinery company. This truck didn't die. This truck now has a 1950 Chevy cab on it, but we acquired this off of them because this was just pucker. It was lovely. It's got two little bits of rotten they've acquired from sitting here, but we're going to just fix them. They're down there. We need to put a sill in it, and then this has good floors, but we need to make that red to match that. Get where I'm coming from. As you will see, things have progressed a wee bit more. So we started off with a 7.5 ton or a 7 ton, 6.5, 65C18, 6.5 ton, 58 Iveco recovery truck with a slightly rusty cab. Now what I have is a very large rolling chassis minus a body. We'll explain the reasons why in a minute. Sat just behind you is its replacement cab that we've got to adapt from 3 to 4, as we said a minute ago, and we have some other issues. The reason that we were obviously Simon the recovery man's, this thing was coming up due a ministry test, and the other week, or the day that it came here actually, this torsion bar has failed. It's not snapped. I think it's torn the teeth either out of the tensioner back here or out of the pivot on the front axle. So lighter Ivecos up to 4.5 ton, front transverse leaf spring like the Sprinters. Big Ivecos, 6.5 ton, 7.2 as the torsion bars. So what we've got to try and do now is get this torsion bar, which is an absolute arse of a thing, out through this. This is the torsion bar tensioner. So it's bolted through the top of that sort of top wishbone and through to this big tensioner, which is clamped on this big torsion bar. Either that bit is broke, this bit is broke, or this bit is broke. We reckon we're baiting on that bit over there being broke where it normally does. So we have got an awfully large amount of work to do. Now sadly Simon had the body for this thing built by someone. It was a bit rubbish. We'll go and show you that in a minute because it's got some issues. And then what we need to do in about a week and a half, it's squidged in between everything else that we also had to do, is make this back into a lorry and make it pass some ministry tests so Simon can get back on the road earning some money. So we have lots of the body mount bolts weren't very well installed. They have torn the front mounts out. They are ruined. We can change them. Obviously you'll notice there is no fuel tank. This is because this torsion bar comes this way and you need to take the fuel tank off, otherwise it ain't coming off. You will also notice there is no body on there because we've oiked that off. We'll go and show you that in a minute. Because basically, obviously recovery trucks have a beaver tail on them, and there are ways of doing beaver tails, and the way this one was done was not really the way you should do it. Hence why it was rubbish and is actually broken off, unbeknown to us and unbeknown to Simon, off of its mounts at the back here. So it had ruined all of this, so we're unruining all of this. But obviously while we're here, you might as well do a load more work. So I've got a bucket load of parts ordered, and I've got some Iveco chassis grey. The cab needs to go back. Obviously the original cab was red, so the doors, the bonnet and all that sort of stuff's red. So finally we've taken a chance on it being Rosso Maranello red, because it's an impossibility because you can't read the paint code. So I've bought 5 litres of that. I've bought 5 litres of Iveco chassis grey. So we are going for gold. And while we're here, there are a few other things you need to account for. The intercooler, if we look here, had been rubbing against the grill and had put a hole in it. We've got one of those. And then this vehicle's done about the 280,000 mark. It is running perfectly, but while we are massively stripped apart, probably wouldn't hurt to put 2 new timing chains on it, because it's like an hour-long adventure now, whereas it's like a 5-hour-long adventure once you've rebuilt it all. So I think they call that preventative maintenance. So I've got a load of wiring I want to sort out, a load of brake pipes I want to sort out, a load of brakes, brake backs, just the sort of stuff that while you were here in this condition, obviously, and a broken torsion bar, you might as well go through everything and make it pucker. So what I'm going to do now is take you all out there and I'll show you the body, and then we'll show you the cab, and then we all know where we're going. So you will see what we have dangling here is a very large 21 foot recovery body. most of it's pretty reasonable, apart from, and we'll bring you down here in a minute, the wedgy bit on the back is poop, and whoever designed it wants shooting. So what we're going to do is sort this out. So admittedly it's Stewart cut paint really, because it's done 250,000-ish since it was put on, so she's had 2 years of running. We need to slightly fabricate on the wheel arches because they're a bit rubbish. Some of this side rave and this sort of stuff, rubbish, gone, don't like that. The actual main deck, very good, because I think what Simon did was he had a shorter body he gave to some people that made him this body, and that's where the problem goes wrong. So we'll bring you here and then we'll show you what I think he's up with it. So what you will see here, this is the back beaver. So obviously from there she slopes to the ground. Steel deck, because obviously we're not like a 3.5 tonner, we're not relying on being a lightweight. Now, they never beavered the chassis. What they did was chop it off just behind the rear spring hangers and then put this top quality extension on here. So you've got a big piece of flat box coming through to a upright here with a triangulation piece off of it and some legs down to it, a bar welded across, and then some chassis end plates welded on the end of the chassis. Well, the chassis end plate is made out of like 3mm plate or 2mm. I would have thought that looks a bit 2mm, so that broke. But obviously this all relies on sort of cantilevering basically, because obviously the other thing that this does is have a trailer hooked on it all the time. So the chassis end is here, so this whole section is obviously, there is an ability to move because the chassis on an Iveco of that tonnage will twist. So if you've got that bolted up against the back of it, instead of having like a proper beaver-tailed section of chassis, no twisty, and then the whole lot is trying to tear itself to pieces. So in theory, although the ladle of a trailer and the weight of loading it is here, it's pushing down on that bottom thing, so it's trying to do that. Yes, and you're trying to stop it from doing that. Now, if you happen to have put a large angled triangle load of cack in here that's not very well secured to the back of the chassis, so the main pressure is going through this lower rail, which is then trying to is levering on the incoming chassis, sort of like this, and then trying to rip it off, which is what it did. So I don't like that. I think that's rubbish. So what I am going to do is cut all of that nastiness in there out, and then I will beaver tail the truck's chassis using another lump of 6-ton chassis that I might happen to have cut off, saved in the hoard around the back, so that the chassis can do this, and then adjust all of these body mounts onto flat top proper body mounts, so that there is an ability for things to move and not shear off and ruin stuff. And then make a proper tow bar that is joined to the chassis, not to the body, and then join the back of the body to the chassis properly. And then throw all that manky wiring away, because that upsets me. I'm throwing all these away because these upset me. These are probably going in the bin too, and then we're going to paint it properly. You get where I'm coming from. Obviously this is the back end of the original chassis. That's the wiring harness. That's another thing we have to. So these are the chassis end plates, which, as you will see, are absolute junk. It's not thick enough. It's not on there properly. It's rubbish. And the pigeons had landed down the side here badly. Both sides. There was a bit more pigeon going on this side, but it was never going to stay attached. I mean, that is far too thin, and it was just tearing the arse end off of it. So when it's been tearing the arse end off of it, it's obviously been shuffling all this as well, because this can't move. So the front of the body's trying to shift sideways as the thing twists, and it has basically just sort of ruined all the body pickups. Now the body pickups are these. I have these. We can change them. There's only 2 broken ones and then 2 I need to look at because they're a bit worn. I want to knock this down where the rust has got in between the 2 of it. Other side you can see it just starting to lift. That's easy. We'll clean that out, needle gun between the 2, put it back where it should be and seal it up. And then I need to put a big piece of chassis in here, going down at an angle, which has to be worked out. And then what I am going to have to do, I've got some new release springs for it, because these ones are getting quite tired. And then I'm going to need to join it in with plate. There are some legalities to this. I'll go and read the rules to make sure I'm dead on it, because obviously this is a commercial vehicle and it needs to be pucker. So you can do this, but I don't want to. I don't want to put a plate in the frame, because I'd have to start again with the frame, so it's levering in the right push places, so when it was pushed down, it's pushing into here, not on a plate down here that rips that one off. So I am going to unbolt these rear spring hanger shackles, spring hanger thingies either side. There is obviously a crossbar in the middle here. And then I'm going to get a big lump of chassis that is the same as this. It's off of a 6-tonner we cut up. I've kept it. And then I am going to make, probably on the inside, some big plates, fish plates, to allow, so it's going to be obviously welded, but that isn't good enough for me. It needs to be properly clamped. We may even have them either side, bolts through, weld, so that it's got to have an ability to move. Because if I jack the back of this truck up now, it'll twist. The chassis will, have you ever seen a lorry go over a bump? They do this. This is the problem. So every time it's fighting against all these mounts and trying to rip itself to pieces as it's done. That'll only take 5 minutes. I better pick my hammer up before I lose it. But you're with me, aren't you? You understand exactly what I'm going on about. I'll just hit that a few more times just to demonstrate. So what we are going to attend to today, obviously on the end of this video for a Wednesday, is to get this big ugly torsion bar out of here. Now, if you happen to own one of these 6-ton Ivecos, this is not a pleasant job with the vehicle cabby bit on, because they do have a tendency for wearing the pivot bushes, because obviously all of this is twisting on here and it wears these out, and these fail a ministry test. So we're replacing them at the same time. But if you've ever had to knock one of these back to get it out to replace those, it's not a very nice experience. So we're going to go blanket on here. We may even consider knocking the other one out to put 2 new top pivot bush things in it, because it's easier to do it like it is now, set it back up again, than it is to attempt to do it once the truck's back together. When those ones wear out in a few years' time, we might as well do both sides and then we're done. I am talking myself into a load of work here. And then I've got to clean all the gack off of this and make it look, again, because obviously we've got, so 6-speed gearbox, that's the particulate converter. This is the winch wiring. We have the handbrake cable dangling here. As you will see in front, we have the cab El Nuvo to go on it, but it doesn't quite fit at the moment, not structurally. Those are the cab mounts. There's one there, one there, one there and one there. It will bolt straight on those, which the tin work side of it we have to adjust it for to make it look more modern than it is, because obviously the more modern cab has done an Iveco and evaporated. And then sort of service it and fix all the bits wrong with it, put a timing chain on it. Oh, prop shaft prop shaft centre bearing has fell out down there. It's this sort of stuff. It's done 155,000 miles in a year, and it's not badly looked after, don't get me wrong. It's just transport trucks get worn out. Taken the big bolt that holds the end of the torsion bar and the receiver rubber, which really I think is part of the bush, but that's been foobarred out, and I reckon it's actually this receiver that's broken. I could be wrong. So what I'm going to try and do is scoot using a Milwaukee wacky gun. So that's basically break or undo. There's 6 bolts holding, so 4 19s and 2 22s I reckon are holding this section, which is the tensioner, because obviously you've seen me let the tensioner That's the pusher, and then it twists on this bar to torsion it up. So I've let the tensioner off. The wheel is hanging on its end. That won't hurt for a minute, so I'm going to attempt. I don't know whether these are going to budge or not. They seem to be budging quite easily. I can get the other end of it. That doesn't happen very often. You'll have to excuse the lily white legs because it is finally shorts time. I know it's a bit scary. It's a bit scary for me. But I've got some new shorts as well. So basically what I end up with at the end of the day, instead of getting suntan legs like the rest of you, I just end up with very black ones. So you can't get on you. You're very busy. You. There, aren't you? Yep. What's coming? Just drop test that. Good measure. Oh, I'm getting there. Yes, I can. Oh, that's coming too. This is almost easy at the moment. I've done it now, haven't I? Right, so we've got one we can't get to because the bar's right in front of it, so that'll be an arse. That'll last. Well, I've got my 22mm wacky dacky socket. Looks like we're going to be stuck with one really awful 19 to get off, but that could have been worse. Scoot. Don't be an arse. Right, what we'll do then now is try and see if we can scooch the large whacker gun in on the reverse of that 19 inside, undo that, and then beat 7 shades of the living shade out of that. That is a technical term. Anyway, just drop test this for the 4th time in a row. Oh, that one. So we have to get in here. Oh, look at that. It's falling off as we speak. That's the last nut. Right. Let's see what happens now. This should get out of there. This thing. So, is that seized on the end of that? No, it isn't. It's amazing. That'll be the problem. I'll bring you down in here for a quick look, because that is the end of the torsion bar there, and you see it has broken. You'll have seen me just unbolt that from there. So this is the torsion bar, and obviously this bit here is broken, because it should be back to about here with, let me just overturn it, I filled it full of oil a minute ago, in there, This is the splined end, so that is the splined end of the shaft that should have been attached to here. Yeah, that does, obviously you can see how much is left in there. That does the suspension. So this, I think it only comes out one way, but we'll give it a bit of a tap this way. Is it moving? Free it up a bit, and then what we've got to do is knock this big lump of shaft out of there, which is going to be fun because it does look a bit manky in there. Let's get some goo in it, and we'll let it sink a bit, because half the trouble is knocking it out. It's going to be a bit exciting because it's now not flat anymore. It's at an angle, it's at that. Nothing's ever easy, is it? And what we're going to try and do now, you can see that's the end where the nut and the thing you'll watch me take off. That and the washer was earlier on. So this bar goes through this top arm. This is obviously the lever for the front suspension. And we've got to try and persuade this whole big thing here that it wants to come out that way without mumming any of this. So I might just gingerly move all this, because obviously that's the ABS wiring and we don't want to ruin that. And then we'll try hitting on that first, otherwise we're going to have to see if we can get a porta power or something in there to push that back that way.
Right, next morning you will see we have no more broken torsion bar. My lord, that was an arse. That would not budge. Well, I heated on it, set fire to it, beat it, powered it, beat it some more, heat it, beat it, heat it. Anyway, the both the internal collars were seized on it. It was seized in that shaft, but finally, after being viciously attacked with a large hammer and a gas torch, and we won't show you the footage because the language is quite choice, as it was annoying the pair of us, it finally fell out. So we have dispatched Simon off Southampton this morning with the broken bits of gassed up, beaten torsion bar to Iveco to go and get another one. We do not want to be doing that again, and we'll consider whether we put the same effort into the other side to change the bushes that aren't actually worn out. They may be staying there for a minute because I've had some arse with the end of it before. I mean, honestly, we nearly broke the press trying to press that bit out. I bent the frame of it, heating it, bashing it, heating it, trying to get the end of the drive shaft out of the receiver, and the torsion bar out of the receiver was bad enough, let alone out of the hub. So that will do for a Wednesday fixie video. If you like this type of stuff, let us know. Comments, all sorts of stuff like that. Follow along, because we will obviously be on this for a bit. But do remember, we've got Peugeots to do. That's looming. She's not far off, so we'll probably be back there at the weekend. And a range of exciting stuff to be done before the end of this month. Thank you very much, Al, 6D Diesels.